Okay, welcome back to Lumberjack Cheese. This is going to be episode 3. Here I have pre-prepared notes this time, so if you want to just skip ahead and look into all this, most of it's probably unintelligible, bad handwriting, that's okay. But this is what we're going to kind of go over. It's going to cover a lot of broad, kind of complex topics. Again, if you don't understand any of this right off the bat, that's okay. They're hard, they take a lot of time. It's not good or bad to know or not know this. Okay, so what we're going to go over is something called recursive self-composition. And we're going to ask the questions, why is this important? What does it do for you? How will you benefit? What are the consequences of it? What are the pitfalls? Why is this even, worth mentioning? Okay, recursive. First of all, recursive. Let's do you. Basically just means loop, doing it over and over again, and self-decomposition. No one's dying here. No one's dying. This is about the basically the ball of yarn in your head. That isn't just one string, it's multiple strings. It's like multiple balls of yarn mixed together, all knotted. And that is you. You are a bunch of, balls of yarn that are mixed together with each other, and this ends up being, your beliefs, your values, your framework, your flaws, your addictions, your struggles, your successes. But this is about breaking these down into, their own balls of yarn. See if you can see it. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Your own balls of yarn, right? That are neatly organized, and then eventually breaking them down into just a little bit of string, right? Just a little bit. But the idea is that these strings end up being braided strings. And so instead of it being like a ball of yarn, eventually you can make your brain really nice and organized, make them braided strings that are really easy for, this is really convoluted, almost mental models for your brain to use. So it can basically pick this up, put it in a bag, know it's not going to get tangled and mixed with other things if you need to. So when you get to this point in life where your mind isn't a ball of yarn, and then it isn't separated balls of yarn, but it's braided string, you can take really, really complex ideas in your head and not really stress about it, because you've already taken the time to really design an efficient way of thinking. Okay, so self-decomposition is taking, again, your brain and sorting it and cutting out all the fluff, just bread and butter, nothing else. Okay, so you have things, and the reason why I use the ball of yarn example is because you have knots, and knots are things you can't let go of. So if you break up with someone, you have a knot, you can't let go of it. It's going to take a really long time for you to get rid of it. Recursive self-decomposition is like giving yourself scissors to a knot. Right, so I guess we'll draw it that way so that you can cut, a knot in a line. But it's also, when you practice this, you realize that sometimes the knot is so thick that it's going to take a while, even if you have scissors, to cut it. And it's just a matter of time before it is cut, and you just have to wait. So it ends up teaching you patience. Let's remember that, because patience is a virtue. And if you're a viewer and you're new to driving, one thing that can help you, reduce your anxiety is just to say patience is a virtue. You can always benefit from patience so you don't get in a wreck. That is the worst possible, case scenario, especially for a new driver. But any experienced driver knows that. Okay, so recursive self-decomposition is like if you know computers, it's like if a program is almost, looking at, I'm going to draw little eyes here, right? Little cat eyes, at its own program, its own source code. If you're a biologist, it means like you're looking at your own DNA basically and seeing how it's working in real time. So source code, DNA, it's like an engine seeing its own pistons moving, but then an engine being able to manipulate, the pistons and reshape the engine almost like as if it's a living metal. And so like we could say it's a living engine, but this is in your brain, right? So, it's if you've ever played EVE Online, there's a filament that you can go where in space, gravity is a linear object where everything lives on, a field of gravity, a flat field. But, this is metacognition. It's basically breaking it, warping it, and this is going to be 3D space and creating this, right? Your own little pocket. This is reality. This is your brain, and I'm going to create a different illustration to explain it differently. But super metacognition is you have one pocket of observation that is observing reality. Then you have a pocket that is observing this, that is observing that. And then you have another one observing that this is observing this, that is observing that. Very complex. You're not supposed to get this right off the bat, okay? It takes, it's a very nuanced way of thinking, and it requires, almost parallel consciousness where, your brain is one existence and your consciousness is another one. And they're both talking to each other. You are this, and your brain is that. And your brain kind of always has like this say, but your conscious can always influence what it thinks it has a say in. Almost like a parent defining the boundaries of, the child's choices. Like, do you want to put on the left shoe or the right shoe? Do you want strawberry ice cream or chocolate ice cream? Giving options. This gives options to the brain. And not really the other way around. It's just that the brain, this is a complex idea, gives foundation for the consciousness to be able to do that. The child gives the opportunity, the parent the opportunity to give the child options and guide it, right? And when a child doesn't allow the parent to guide the child, you get uncooperative children. Okay, so if this doesn't make any sense to you, that's okay. What we're gonna draw right now is, is a little guy. Just a little guy, okay? And this is a consciousness, right? But within this consciousness, this is gonna be this one. I'll put, a one right here. This is looking through the eyes of this consciousness, right? And this is number 2, put number 2 right here. And then we have this guy getting an even bigger head with a smaller body. He is number 3, and he is looking into reality. Put reality right here. Well, we'll get an eye, a mouth, little eyebrow, some, maybe a goatee, and he is looking out into reality. So what is this? And I really haven't explained this, even really well at this point. What is it? What does it look like? How do you actually practice it? How is it practical? Well, this is saying, just as this, I'm noticing that you're noticing about what this is noticing. And then you are deciding almost, whether you want to think that, whether it benefits you, if you should keep it, and if you should almost like delete it, if you should just lose the idea, or, this is really where you come to a conclusion about something here, and this comes to a conclusion about number 3. So, number 3 comes to a conclusion about reality, idea 1. Then number 2 comes to a conclusion about that conclusion, and then number 1 comes to a conclusion about number 2's conclusion, right? So this is essentially saying, we'll draw a little box so this makes sense. Is person 1 talks to, person 2, right? They're chatting. But then, so this is person 1, this is person 2, but then person 2 is communicating their idea, their conclusion to person 3, right? And then person 3 is communicating this idea to person 4, right? But it doesn't have to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, the process can always repeat itself where, number 2 has another conversation with person 3 in the same context. We'll draw a little smaller box. And person 1 can always have another conversation with person 2 over and over and over again in a loop until, this comes to a conclusion that is solid, that is basically an all-encompassing circle that takes all of this into account from all the conclusions. And there are so many conclusions in here. They are all just as likely, all just as important and valuable, and they're all very nuanced ways in that they help build and help find a conclusion that works well for the person. And notice I'm trying to preface what will work well for the individual. Okay, we are going to come from the standpoint that nothing, or at least most things, there is no one right way to do things. There's a lot of great way to do things, but there's no one right way to do things. Nothing is right in all contexts. Now, if you do believe this isn't largely going to be helpful. Your mind is already going to be defensive toward this idea and close itself off, because this is already disagreeing. This is a barrier that a lot of people will run into, is they already believe, it's already concrete in their head, that there is something that is right in all contexts. There is objectivity without subjectivity, without the nuance in all contexts. And that is not a great way to live. It can lead to a great way to live, but it can lead to a great way to live where you don't have the answers. But that is where religion comes in, because religion says this is not true and here's why. And then that can lead to people living good lives where they are fulfilled both physically, emotionally, and cognitively. They can think in their brain and feel fulfilled, not have questions or answers, or even know that it doesn't benefit them to search for those answers because, God will already have it. Okay, so, but if you are in a, precarious mental, situation where you don't know whether to believe in God or whether to believe in God, if it's real or not, you can benefit from this. This can be something you can lean on cognitively. Okay, so this is what we're building all of this from, is this one detail. This is important. Okay, so after you come to this conclusion, right, let's see, where do we need to go? Oh, I need to describe the process as to what this basically means. You can do this in your head, but doing this in your head and knowing how to do this in your head are two different things, and one comes before the other. So let's talk about how you actually do it. Okay, so You have a feeling or thought. And emotions matter, right? That's another important detail. We're going to make that important detail number 2. Emotions, unless you're a psychopath, matter. Or you're a sociopath. Or emotionally manipulative. You have a feeling or thought. And this can be, I feel frustrated. I don't think I feel angry. I feel like almost like something is griping at me and I don't know what it is and I can't shake it off, right? So something is unsettling because sometimes it can be an ambiguous emotion that something is unsettling. You don't know really what it is yet, right? So it's unsettling. Or your thought is like, let's say, someone orders something that they don't actually know what they're ordering. Let's say they order, from Freddy's a burger, or from anywhere they order a burger, but they don't like it for some reason. They're unsettled about their burger, right? Well, now the idea is to say, what is unsettling, or why is the burger giving me problems? Like why is there a problem from this burger? Why is there a problem? Well, I mean, obviously I have no idea. Why do I dislike this burger? You tell me. You have the answer, right? No, you have the answer. But it's about knowing how to build to the answer, building to the clouds. The answers are in the clouds, so we have to build up there, right? So what we know is that I feel unsettled, or I have a thought about this burger, and there's an issue. Okay, well, now we need to test. How do we test the issue? How do we test the feeling? Well, we have to say, what is the context of this feeling? After talking to this person, we'll say test right here. This was said and it bothered me. Okay, the reason why doesn't matter. Well, now we have to say, okay, well, in this context, what does that mean? What does it mean if it bothers me? What do I have to do, right? In therapy, going in loops over and over and over again about talking about the problem, talking about the problem puts you in a loop that leads you to the same place, that will lead you to the same place that you came from, that you started from. You start from point A to point B, then you go back to point A to point B, which is talking about the problem. You can't talk about the problem. That is the antithesis, that is the anti-hero to you being well-adjusted, being able to fix yourself emotionally on your own. And to get to the point where you fix yourself emotionally so well that it's automatic, that you don't even have to think about it, because you can get there. It's truly possible. You have to scratch it out. We're going to draw a line through it. You have to say, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do? And what do I want? We'll write it down here. So instead of talking about the problem, instead of discussing it, you say, what am I going to do? And what do I want from what I'm going to do, right? So, what am I going to do? And what do I want? Okay? So we're going to build an example after this, but we just have to describe what the next process is. So to test, you not feeling well, after describing the context of what was done, you have to next say, what am I going to do about it? And what do I want from the situation? And this is the loop that you want because it has a Y junction, okay? There's a split off point, right? So you go in a loop, you go in a loop, you go in a loop, and then eventually there's going to be a split off point where you're leaving the loop. You're going this way, you're going out. So there's no loop anymore, and that is closure and conclusion. A conclusion to the story, right? And if you were still in the loop, oh my goodness, that's a whole nother video. The answer to the reason why you're still in a loop, why you're still in here, is because it benefits you. Because you still want to be here. But if you do this, if you ask, what am I going to do and what do I want, it'll help you stop wanting the loop and the emotions that come with the loop, still feeling unsettled, having questions about the burger that you're eating, right? Okay, so now what does this look like? Let's take a very, common scenario that we all kind of go through and have to experience. Let's say, you eat someone's food out of the fridge, right? I ate someone's food out of the fridge. Okay, we're gonna take one where you're the reason for it, and then you're not the reason for it, and that's gonna be on a different page, the second one. Okay, so I ate someone's food out of the fridge, right? The owner said mean things, felt hurt, and got mad for very reasonable choices. And you come from the situation, and now you are hurt. You're gonna say mean things. You're going to say mean things. And also get mad. Right? Okay, so, and when you go to this situation, what do we have to do now? We have to say, what is my feeling? I'm hurt, right? I'm mad. What am I thinking? I'm thinking I'm going to say something mean, right? These are your thoughts and your feelings. Now, what is hurting? What is hurting? Their emotion and their words hurt, right? Why does it hurt that they are mad and that they said mean things? Because if someone says mean things, that means I did something wrong. I did something wrong. This isn't true. Not true. What I'm going to tell you is something that you're not going to agree with. Okay, so just prep that in your mind. But if you're smart and you also do this, you realize that I'm teaching you how to actually arrive at why this is wrong, and me almost like premeditating that you will disagree with me. This is teaching you how to overcome, how to not be affected by me premeditating that you're going to disagree with it, how to actually divert and say, actually, no, I'm not going to disagree with you, and I know why. Okay, so I did something wrong. This is not a true statement. I want to feel / think that I did something wrong. because it benefits me, because a person in that scenario should feel that way, right? If you eat someone's food out of the fridge and they get mad at you, right, you should feel mad and you should feel hurt and you should say mean things because you were hurt, because that shows that, you know, you're defending yourself, you know, like you still have control over the situation, right? So it's not true. I did something wrong is not true. You want to think that because it benefits you, because it would be weird, quote unquote weird, for you not to think that. There is something wrong with you if you don't think that. And that is why a lot of people are stuck in that train of thought, is that they think that that is how they should react. And so they react accordingly. And that makes them feel good. But it's not true. And if you can get out of that, you got superpowers. Okay, so I want to feel / think that I did something wrong. Therefore, they actually haven't caused anything, because there is no cause and effect. It is to my own goal to feel hurt, say mean things, and be mad, right? So we're going to flip the page now. We're going to say, let's see if you can see this part, right? I guess we'll do a new page over here. Okay, so it is, you know, they almost want to feel mad, say mean things, and have, you know, let's see, what did I say? Oh, they want to feel hurt and feel hurt, right? For all the reasons. But then this is also saying, drawing a line, this has nothing to do with me. Okay, if you can say this, if you can try and say this, you can unlock something freeing within you. You're gonna basically unbuckle the chains on your hands and feet. Okay, and now you can say, I want to feel responsible for this, you know, accountable, okay? And as a result of also feeling accountable and responsible, I also want to do the same thing, which is to feel mad, mostly at myself. Say mean things, because he made me defensive, victim, and to feel hurt as a way, a way to protect my ego, right? To make myself feel better, to justify and understand the situation. I need to feel hurt. I also need to feel mad. I need to say mean things. And that is a complete circle, right? But there is, you know, a nuance to this situation, which is to say that if you can observe, you can be that little tiny person in your head that is, we're going to put a speech bubble on this head, that is, you know, processing this. You can say that I can come to a conclusion about how I want to now feel about feeling all of this. So we're going to have an inner conversation, which is to say, does it benefit me to, you know, continue, or in this moment, be responsible, be mad, say mean things, protect my ego by feeling hurt? Does it benefit me? What else? What are my other options? what else can I choose, right? And I would say, having practiced this a long time, well, first of all, giving you the answers, turning your guys' brain off. You have to find the answer yourself. You have to figure out what you want to do, right? And then this is going to build into the convolutedness of this, which is to say, if you decide this is what I would do, is I would say it doesn't benefit me, so that this is a no, right? This is a no. What else can I choose? A lot. I can say, it doesn't benefit me to feel hurt, so I can feel I'm allowing, I said that really weird, I'm allowing myself now and here, not here, not level 1 and level 2, to feel okay. I'm okay, even though it's bad, it's not great, I can still be okay, right? Giving yourself permission to not have to feel mad, not have to feel defensive, not have to feel, like a victim. Okay, it's okay, right? Just totally blocks all of it out, right? So, that's emotional immunity in action right here. So we'll do emotional immunity in abbreviations. The next thing is what can I choose? Well, I already chose to feel okay. Now, what do I value? What are my values? Well, if I value this person whose food I just ate, I can say, you know what, dude, I'm sorry. And, I can't change the fact that I ate your food, but I still want a good relationship with you. We're going to do a W/with you, okay? That's, if you value I'm sorry, if you can, most families can't even say I'm sorry, okay? Family therapists, they're sometimes sorry isn't something that's ever really said because no one wants to own up to their mistakes. And that is ego, that is defensiveness, that's being a victim, that's blaming others, avoiding responsibility. A lot of people don't have that, and that's what leads to dysfunctional families. So if you can say, I value a good relationship. I'm going to say, I'm sorry, because what matters is your emotional well-being. And if you don't believe that, that can lead you to crazy places too. So if you are someone, you're in a really good place. You value the emotions of other people. Okay, so let's continue. I'm sorry, but I still want a good relationship with you. Now we have to ask the question. We can go back here. We're going to say, what am I going to do? We're going to bring it over here. What am I going to do? I'm not going to get defensive. I'm not going to say mean things. I'm going to, be like, hey, give you a hug, right? If it really upsets you, I'm going to give you a hug. I'm going to, tell you how amazing you are, compliment you, and how bad you feel. I feel regret. Maybe you don't feel regret, you feel, bad. You feel bad in some sort of capacity to show them that you care. I feel regret, I care for you, and I don't want this to be the end. I don't want this to end. Okay, so now we are at a crossroads, right? At this point, you have done all that you can in this situation. This is the most ideal scenario someone can ever possibly communicate to someone else, right? What am I going to do? I'm going to try and hug them, compliment them, show them that I have, remorse and compassion and that I want things to continue. Now, it is now up to that person, right, to decide. They have to to decide now what they want to do. Now, keep in mind, they may not, most will never get to this point where they can see and make conclusions about what they're experiencing and decide what to do instead, because they can come to conclusion about this conclusion. Very, very, rare, okay? They have to decide what they want to do. And that can mean, right, that they go into a loop of just, they want to talk about the problem, okay? They want to continue, we'll do a little loop to, bring it back. They want to talk about the problem. They want to be a victim. They want to project. They want to make you feel like crap. They want to blame. Almost, they can even, feel animosity, become hostile. Now, the problem with a lot of empaths is that they say, I am the reason for this, if this happens. They say, I am also responsible for them, okay, in their well-being. This is not a true statement. And you will, if you believe this, that you are responsible, you will continue to feel the way you've been feeling about this. Okay, so there's two paths. One is you are responsible. Okay, now you have to restart this whole problem over again, which is to come to a conclusion about what are you responsible for? What do you feel? What do you think? Right? We're going to come here. We're going to say again, what is it that you're feeling? Right? Why is it a problem? What are you going to do? And what do you want? Well, if you want them, right, if you work backwards and you say you want them to not be this way anymore, you don't want them to even have it in their memory. It's not something that they even want to even have lived. You are taking on, do this, oh my goodness, that is not a word. You are taking on their responsibility. Okay, it is not your responsibility to take on their responsibility. Okay, so if you decide you are not responsible, let me tell you what will happen. Okay, you won't take on their responsibility. Now notice, it is you coming to a conclusion about this, and then you coming to a conclusion about your conclusion, not someone else. Someone else is not thinking for you what you should feel, think, hurt. Someone is not deciding that you should be a victim. Someone is not deciding that you are protecting your ego. Someone is not deciding that you feel mad, you are, right? But when you decide that you are responsible for them choosing to be a victim, them choosing to project blame or become hostile, you are essentially saying that you do not have the right to think for yourself. Okay? And that is a, wording it that way is going to make a lot of people very defensive watching this video, if any people even do. Okay? You will be defensive thinking that you are not responsible. But if you can let go of that ego, because it is ego, right? If you can let go of it, you can say, I am not responsible for them. You don't take on their responsibility. You can then say, I am going to do this. Now, what I'm about to tell you, what I'm about to show you, are the keys to the kingdom, right? It's saying this person hates me, right? Let's take a worst case scenario. This person hates me, okay? What I'm going to tell you are options you can take, what else that you can choose, that not taking on the responsibility can still help them develop a good relationship, can flip the script, right? Because if you just continue talking about how they hate you, you talk about the problem, you don't address what am I going to do to solve this problem, a lot of people don't know how to solve the problems that they have because they have ego and they haven't let go of their ego. Their ego is holding them back. So if a person hates you, this is what you should do. Don't take on the responsibility. You don't decide how they want to feel, how they want to be a victim, how they want to project blame or become hostile. What you can do is you can say, I want, this is leading to this part now. What am I going to do and what do I want to feel, or ignore that, I want to be nice, smile, complimentary. I want to have good vibes. We'll do a dash. Good vibes, right? Be a good person. Okay, and so despite this person hating me, this isn't going to change what I want because I'm not encumbered by their responsibility. I'm encumbered by mine, right? Which is, what do I want to do? What do I want to think? Okay, and the answer, the shortcut to this, which doesn't benefit you because you need to find this on your own, who you want, what do you want? I like to be nice. I like to smile. I like to be complimentary. I like to bring good vibes. I like to be a good person because it benefits me to do so. It doesn't benefit me to be, angry or bitter. Okay, and eventually, what you'll find is that if you give, ignore that. If you give, Alex Hormozy, if you give, and give until the end of time, the rule is that people will want to give back. They will want to mirror it, okay? Because if there's no connection there, if they don't want to mirror it, then they will feel guilty. Boom. Guilty. And then this will lead, can you even see it? Yes, you can. This will lead to, leads to a good relationship. Right? Think Ted Lasso, think SpongeBob, think Captain America, think Superman, right? He gives, and people want to give back because that also makes them feel good. They want to give back, okay? It benefits them to give back, and so they will do it freely, right? And giving to other people and then them giving back is a mutual relationship. It's not parasitic, it's not dysfunctional, it's not unfair, it's balanced. It will lead you to a good relationship. So this person hates me will now turn into this person one tolerates, and then we're gonna say enjoys me. Okay, so I'm gonna end this here. We've gone for, let's see, 44 minutes now. Jeez Louise, this is horrible. This is the blueprint, right? Coming to a conclusion about what you've come to a conclusion about, and then coming to a conclusion about that. Deciding, what am I going to do and what do I want, and then doing it, right? And if you don't do it, you don't want it. You may like the idea of it, but you don't want the reality, right? That's an important topic. I'm not going to write it down, but if you can, absorb it, which I don't expect you to, there's no expectations of change here, right? This is all you. It's all about what you want. Cherry pick what you need from this. This is metacognition in a succeeding mindset. This is giving you the tools, the framework, the knowledge to hand yourselves the kingdom, like in The Lion King when, the lion says, everywhere the light touches is your kingdom. This is that. And you've been living in the shadows. Okay, so, let yourself see the light. Be happy. Okay, see you next time.